Welcome to 2025. I am your host of Pierre Wilson Unchained. Pierre Wilson, of course. I'm so excited to be back with you guys. I actually missed you guys so much. Remember when I first started this podcast, this was a newer thing for me. Even though I had one before, I had never done a video podcast where I felt like I was looking directly at you guys and speaking to you. So, I was really hesitant at first. You guys remember me talking about that, but here I am, and I'm missing you guys, and I didn't have a chance to talk to you all. So, my, how far I've come, right? So, but welcome to 2025. Hopefully, your new year started off as good as mine has. I'm really, really optimistic about this year. There's such good energy right now, right? I think it's because Trump is coming. Super excited about the inauguration coming up as well, and things just feel different. I feel like America is on the up and up, and I'm happy. That's why I got my MAGA hat on today. I had to make sure I represent it. I got to put my MAGA hat on and represent for Trump. I'm feeling excited about the next 4 years. But you may be wondering, do I have a guest today? I do not have a guest today. Today, I am going to personally talk to you guys throughout this episode. And I am going to do something that I probably should do more and definitely don't do enough, and share my story. Share my story. Um, I've had quite a journey. Now, listen, I'm not going to share every single detail because number one, we won't have the time for that. But I also have a book coming out. So this is the first time I'm actually saying it publicly. I'm not going to share the title or too many details yet, but I do have a book that's coming. So I want you guys to look out for that. The announcement drop. Hopefully we can get it out sooner rather than later, but that is where I will fully tell my story in great detail. Great detail. It's actually a very therapeutic process for. I sound like a lib. It's a therapeutic process, but it really is though. Writing. I'm not even a big fan of writing. I don't like writing. I'm not a writer, but I think I'm pretty good at writing, but I just don't enjoy it. You ever been good at something and don't enjoy it? That's me with writing. But I'm actually enjoying this though. I'm enjoying writing this book, and that is unique because I used to hate my college papers. I hate when I have to write things out today. Thank God for the computers where I can just type. But writing this book has been therapeutic. It really has. It's been a chance for me to kind of, I won't say heal on some things that have happened in my childhood, but it's just allowing me to find a way to learn from it in ways that I didn't even know I needed to learn from it, right? When you start to relive things, you realize, like, man, am I doing things like that right now? I need to probably make sure I'm not doing that, right? So it's just a chance for me to learn from mistakes, but it's also allowing me to be able to reminisce on some of the good things that have happened throughout my life too, and realize how far God has brought me. And then you may be wondering, like, is it just my journey, my story as a kid growing up? It's not just that. It actually is going to go all the way up to present day, where I talk about how I got my start in the conservative movement and the backlash that I face. And that part I'm going to get into a little bit of that today. Uh, so for those who don't know, I am the senior director of Blexit, and I obviously didn't start in this role. I started at the grassroots level. I was actually the first employee of Blexit, but I want to back up even further than that and tell you how I really got started. So for most of my life, I grew up like many people in Black America. We are pretty much taught from the beginning that we are Democrats, right? And some people may say, well, we don't. Some parents may say we don't tell you that, but essentially they do because the Republicans are not even considered when it's time to have a political conversation. There, if you even bring up the word Republican in most Black households, you better be trashing them because if you're saying anything good about them, you're going to get a lot of stare downs from a lot of people in that house. So, without it being said, you were a Democrat from birth, essentially, if you had black skin. And I had a couple moments throughout my life where I thought something about me was different. There was one particular moment when, I was writing a paper. My teacher gave the entire class an assignment. This was back when Gore and Bush were battling it out for the presidential in the presidential election. And I didn't really pay attention to politics a lot at that point, not in the way that I do now. I certainly was intrigued by history, but not so much like the political parties. And and she said, "Hey, I want you guys to go home, do your research, go to the library, whatever you got to do, like learn about these two candidates and write a paper on who you would vote for and why." Well, I didn't, again, not really paying attention to Republican, Democrat. I just looked at it as an assignment. I needed to get a good grade on it because I had a streak of A's on my paper that I wasn't trying to break that streak. So I was like, oh, I gotta keep my streak going. So I did a little bit of work on both candidates, researched them both. Realized really quickly that I identified more with Bush, that I would vote for him if I was old enough to vote. 'Cause at the time, I wasn't old enough to vote. And I was like, man, I would vote for Bush. Like, I think I believe more in what he stands for. So I wrote the paper. Again, not thinking about the political party side of things. Like always, I gave the paper to my mom so she could proofread it for any errors or mistakes. And she she goes like she's literally halfway down that first page, and she looks at it and she goes, let me show you the look. She looks down, she's reading, and she looks up. It was that slow. It was a very slow motion look up, and she looks at me and she's like, "We do not vote for Republicans in this household. Don't you know Republicans are racist? They don't care about people like you and I. We don't support them." I was shocked. I was baffled. I was confused because, again, I had just done a ton of research on this man, and nothing struck me as racist. I was really confused. But at the end of the day, mama knows best, right? That's mom. So I'm like, well, she knows what she's talking about. I'm really confused, but I'm going to go ahead and listen because she's mom and she's never wrong, right? So I went back and I rewrote the paper on Gore and I turned it in. I got a good grade, but I didn't feel right. Something still felt off, but it wasn't off enough for me to realize at the time that I was a conservative. So moving on, I was in college. This was the second moment for me. It was three moments that really kind of uh, got me to where I'm at today. The second moment was when I was in college, and I went to a university. I started at a university called the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. For those who don't know, it's an HBCU, a historically black college university. So lots of black people. I ended up graduating from Salisbury University. Shout out to Salisbury, and also shout out to Liberty University, where I got my master's degree. Love Liberty. That's if you're a conservative and you're thinking about sending your kids to college, Liberty University. But anyway, I'm at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and this time I am a full blown Democrat. By this age, I am all into the Democrat Party. Not really super well researched, but I do know that I will not be voting for Republicans. So, for anybody who's out there who is black, you probably remember this. And if you're not black, this will be a lesson for you if you didn't know this. But in Black America, the real presidential election is between the Democrats and a Democrat primary. That's the main election because whoever wins the Democrat primary, you're going to vote for them. No matter who it is, you're going to vote for them no matter what. So the real election, the real battle is the Democrat primary. So at this time, it was Obama versus Hillary. You know, I'm sitting in a forum. They had like my college did some type of like forum thing. We were all in this theater, and they had people on stage, and it got to a point where they let the audience get involved and share opinions and discuss some of the topics that they had been discussing. So the mic is being passed around. People are talking about who they're going to vote for. Everybody's saying Obama, Obama. Again, the room is fully black. It's a black room. I'm in a black school, and they're like, "I'm voting for Obama. I'm voting for Obama." Well, I get the mic, and I remember looking up and I said, "Well, I don't know who I'm voting for yet. I'm not sure. I'm still doing a little bit of research. I'm not sure at all." Now, before I tell you what happened, I'm gonna tell you why I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure because I didn't know much about Obama. Now, Hillary, I wasn't. It wasn't like she's my favorite person, but at the end of the day, I knew more about her. I knew that she had done some work with her husband in his administration, and she was a more known figure at the time. So I knew more about what she stood for. I didn't know much about Obama, so I really wasn't sure. I was like, I have to do research. I didn't think my answer was bad. Well, it was because the young lady who got the mic after me, she literally grabs the mic and she looks at me and she's like, "How can you, as a black man, not know who you're going to vote for?" So I'm looking at her and she's looking at me, and we're having a stare off, I guess, because I'm waiting for her to elaborate on her thought. I'm thinking, okay, she certainly has more, like she's going to finish this story. But that was it. It was the fact that he was black, I was black. That was that. There was no other there was nothing else to it. That was enough for me to vote for him. That was supposed to be it. And I remember thinking like, man, that feels racist. That feels really racist. Like, what if a white person came in here and was like, I'm voting for this person because they're white? Like, how would we feel about that? You know? So I just remember thinking that felt really, really weird. Everyone's looking at me. You could hear a pin drop. You would have thought I said I was going to kill someone's cat. Like I was getting stared down in that room. They were not happy that I had to think. So anyway, I walked out and I remember feeling really, really weird then. And I was like, something's not right about this, man. But it still wasn't enough for me to change. I ended up voting for Obama and I ended up voting for him twice. So, you know, maybe peer pressure got to me at the time. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I voted for him. And, you know, I look back and I realized that was not a really good decision at all, obviously. But the third moment that really was my red pill moment, but I do believe again those two moments were part of it, was random, really random. And I like to look back and say now it was a God thing. But I was up late one night and I remember I was just like on YouTube and I was scrolling through videos and looking through random stuff. And I came across a video and the thumbnail was Candace Owens. And remember, she wasn't Candace Owens that we know today. It was like she wasn't as known. She actually used to be like Red Pill Black on YouTube. I don't know how many people remember those Candace Owens days. But anyway, she's standing in front of like a bunch of, I wouldn't say it was a good amount of black people. And they all had on MAGA hats. And it's just a thumbnail. So I'm like, what foolishness is this? Like, I remember thinking, like, this has to be is this some type of skit or is this, what is this? This has to be a joke. There's no way that's black people in MAGA hats. What? Um, well, I hit play expecting to laugh and crack up and make fun of the video, and the joke was on me because she started spitting out all these facts about the single motherhood rate in the black community, black on black crime, the welfare rate, all these different things, and she was saying it in a way that I had never heard it. I remember writing these things down because I just knew she was lying. I was like, this is a bunch of crap. Like, there's no way she's telling the truth. These are all lies. And I'm writing these things down. I'm like, I'm gonna fact check her, and I don't even know her. It's not like I can tell her. I'm just gonna feel good about myself that I fact checked Candace Owens again. Um, and again, I didn't know her, so it wasn't gonna do anything but make me feel happy about it. But anyway, you know, I wrote these things down. I remember doing some research on on everything that she had said, and man, everything that she said was true. Everything was true. When I tell you I was shocked, when I tell you that I didn't know, like I questioned my entire existence. I questioned everything at that point. I felt like I'd been lied to, like I had been bamboozled, that I didn't know who I was. I mean, I know I sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm so serious. It really made me question everything. I was so confused at how the things she was sharing was true. And I thought the Democrats were the party for black people. I thought they were the ones who cared about us. Yet they were the ones who were destroying our community. So that obviously led me down a rabbit hole even more, and I'm doing more and more research, more research, more research. I'm coming across Dr. Carol Swain and Thomas Sowell and so many different individuals. I'm just like, what? No, 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 no. Like I'm just having this awakening, and I'm fighting it, but I also can't fight it, and I'm lost. I remember feeling a lot of things. I felt lost. I felt confused. I was shocked. I think one of the biggest things I felt though, I felt lonely. I felt a little afraid. I'm not afraid to say that now. I was a little afraid. And you may say, why lonely? Why afraid? Well, who do I turn to? Who do I call? Who do I reach out with this information? Who do I discuss this with? There's no one around me that thinks like this. Matter of fact, not only do they not think like this, they will clown me. They will talk about me. They will call me names. They will think I'm crazy. It's a very, very lonely feeling, and and this is why a lot of people in the black community just don't. Sometimes they don't want to hear the truth because they're afraid of what comes with the truth. Well, I already knew the truth now. There was no taking it back. And I remember thinking, okay, what's next? And I dropped to my knees. I prayed. I remember doing that. I remember saying, Lord, I don't know why I have this information. I don't know why you're giving this to me. What do I do with it? I was very confused. But with that said, I decided that my first call would be my dad. So, once I think it was like a day or two later, so I called my father and yeah. My father wasn't so bad. For those who don't know, my parents are divorced. My father was questioning some things. He certainly was questioning some things. He was fighting back a little at first, like, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. He wasn't rude, but he was just kind of pushing back. And then, I will say about my dad, he did call me a couple days later. I guess I sent him down a rabbit hole, and he started researching some things. And he started texting me. He's like, you know what, Pierre? Some of the stuff you're saying is actually true. I'm seeing some things, and it wasn't enough to make him a conservative, but it was enough to at least make him start to think. My mom, on the other hand, when I made that phone call, ooh man, that didn't go so well. It was a lot of emotion, I would say, a lot of emotion, and she just wasn't happy. And I remember she started bringing up slavery and just all sorts of things that had nothing to do with what I was talking about at the time. But it was like an emotional pitch. I think when I look back on it, I think she was emotionally trying to pull me back. And I don't even blame my mom when I look back at it now because that's exactly what the Democrats do to black people. It's not about logic or fact or what makes sense. It's about emotion. Their entire appeal to black people is emotional. It's it's emotional. Think about it. Why do every election year they want to talk about Black Death or something else instead of talking policy? They want to talk about, oh, the Republicans are racist because it's if you are afraid of the other side, even if their side doesn't make any sense, you're still not going to vote for the Republicans because you're terrified of them. So I she started going down the emotional pill. Long story short, to this day, it's still a work in progress. But we have a good relationship, but I don't know that we're going to see eye to eye on the political side of things. But glad to say my dad is kind of coming around though. I think he actually is in a place now where he may vote for the conservative candidate next time. I almost had him this time for Trump. I could talk about that in another episode. He was so close, but you know that that was a big step to tell my parents. The next step was like, okay, now I have to go and I have to say this somewhere in a public space, right? Isn't it the next step? Try to be public with it. At least that was the next step for me. So I went on Facebook. Back then, that Facebook was the place to go, right? So I went on Facebook. I'm like, oh, I'm going to put a status up and I'm going to talk about some of my values, some of the things I believe in. Put my first status up about my conservative values. Woo! When I tell you, I mean, that at the time was the most commented on post that I'd ever had. And the comments weren't good. They were bad. I was getting called all sorts of names, a coon, Uncle Tom. People were saying that I must be being paid by the white man. Mind you, at the time, I was not being paid by a white man. I mean, maybe I was, but it wasn't in the conservative movement. I was just at a regular job. I was being told I sold out. I had people DMing me, asking me if I was on drugs. Like, am I doing drugs? Am I okay? All because I just decided to say that I had conservative values. So, for a lot of people, that would make them stop. That would make them say, you know what? I am never speaking up again. I mean, I had friends, people who I've known for years, people who I've helped, questioning my character now. That would make a lot of people just go back to being silent. Well, I'm built a little different. And now, like I said, every time I look back on that conversation, or sorry, not even a conversation, the fact finding mission I went on after I saw what Candace Owens was saying, I realized that it was actually because God knew that I was ready and I was built for this. Because all that status did, all those negative comments, all that hate I was getting on my Facebook status, it just riled me up more. I was like, now I'm really speaking out. Now I'm going harder. I am really going to speak out. If you guys think I'm crazy now, just wait. I have so much more to say. And that led me down a road where I got really vocal about my conservative values. At the time, Brexit was just getting started. When I say just getting started, it was brand new. Candace had just launched it. Candace and Brandon Tatum, they had just launched Brexit. And I remember DMing, or not even DMing, I wrote on Brandon's comment section because they had just done like a show, like a smaller Brexit show. And I said, hey, are you guys just planning to do shows or anything else? He's like, yeah, we're just doing shows around the country. Again, Brandon wasn't as big as he is today, too. He was getting me, but he wasn't as big as he is today. So he commented back pretty quickly to my comment because he had thousands of people commenting. And I was like, man, that's that's great. Like the shows are great, but this I feel like this needs to be brought to the grassroots community. Like this needs to be brought to people directly, and especially if you go to one of these shows, what do you do next? Because who do you turn to, right? Because remember, I didn't have anybody to turn to, so I'm thinking about all these things. I'm thinking about my own experience. I'm like, this needs to be brought to the local level. So that inspired me to launch Blexit North Carolina. We named it. I named it Blexit North Carolina. I grabbed two friends that I had met at a Republican meeting to help out, and we just started door knocking. I mean, when I tell you we were just taking the Blexit messages wherever we could go, we did that. We were door knocking. I remember we actually signed up for karaoke night at an Applebee's, and where you sing a song. And we got up there and we didn't sing the song. We just started talking about Brexit. And we got booed off the stage and they were like, get off the stage. Bunch of drunk people like, get off the stage. But at the end of the day, like that was how dedicated we were. If we could get a mic, if we get an opportunity to talk to people, we were going to talk to people about Brexit. It was just three of us. And we said, we should start documenting our work. So we created an Instagram and at the time it was called Twitter, and we called it Blegs in North Carolina. And we started showcasing what we were doing locally and how we were trying to make an impact. And Candace saw it, and I had no idea in a million years that she would see it. No, 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 she wasn't following me at the time. Nothing. She saw it, and she sent me a DM, and she basically said she loved what I was doing, and she wanted to get on a phone call. We got on a phone call. 3 months later, I was hired as the first employee of Blexit, and now we're sitting with chapters in every state plus DC. We're the largest minority conservative movement in the country. God is good. God is good. And you look back at my journey and you say, wow, look at how this all transpired. Because I had no plans to go really into this line of work. I kind of actually had my own life figured out of what I was going to do, but God took me in an entirely different direction. Another reason why you should listen to God if you're out there listening to this, make sure you listen to him. His plan is always better. But it started from that moment in high school, or I think it was high school, but when I wrote the paper on Bush and Gore, to college, when I was in that forum, to the YouTube video, watching Candace, to my Facebook status. Look at these moments that led to where I'm at today. And if I did not speak up on that Facebook status and those people didn't attack me, I don't know if I would have gotten the motivation to go harder. And if I had not gone harder, Candace would have never saw what I was doing and everything that we were trying to do in North Carolina, and I wouldn't be here in front of you today. So if there's a message to come out of this, is that don't let anyone stop you for like whatever it is that God has called you to do. Do not let anyone stop you. In fact, let them motivate you. Let them push you to work harder. Do not ever give up on your dreams just because it feels like the world is against you. The world was it literally felt like the world was against me. All the conservative friends that I have now, all the people who support me now, they were not around when that Facebook status was put up. I hardly knew any conservatives. It was me and a bunch of liberals. And I was getting attacked with no help. No help at all. And it didn't stop me though. It didn't stop me though. And now I can sit in front of you today with a MAGA hat on. I have people who attacked me, who told me I was crazy, who are now conservatives themselves. People who called me the worst of the worst names, asking me questions in my DM because now they're trying to educate themselves. It just goes to show sometimes you just have to be the first. And while I know I wasn't the first black conservative, I was probably the first in my community, the first that in my network. And I've now inspired more people in my network to now embrace conservatism and not be afraid to say, hey, I'm a conservative. So, let my journey be that example, that you too can do it. And more than anything, I people ask me often like, "What's next? Where are you going?" I actually got asked at the last leadership conference that we just did, "Am I planning to run for office or something one day?" My response was, "I don't know where God is going to take me. I do know right now this is where He has me, and I very much want to be here. I very much believe in the work that we're doing in Blexit. I see the impact. We're coming off of our biggest year yet. We are we I mean we I am blown away by the amount of not like about the amount of not only the numbers we're putting up, but the impact that we're having. The people that are joining Blexit. I mean, this thing is it's to a point where we don't even have to we recruit, don't get me wrong, but it's the work it's recruiting on its own. And people are just coming to us now faster than we've ever had people come to us. That's how much the movement has grown. That we're making sure we can keep up. And I'm just so thankful because again, karaoke night at Applebee's, talking about Blexit to now sitting here in front of you. leading something so special and historic. Nothing but God. Nothing but God. So, more of my story will be in the book. I'm going to talk about a lot of what happened though during my childhood and how I'm not surprised that I'm a black conservative today, despite everything. I talk about that. I'm going to share some things about the left and the things that they've done to the minority community, but I'm also going to share some things about the right. Ooh, I'm going to share some things. I'm not, listen, this isn't a gossip book now. Don't get, for those of you guys getting your hopes up and like, oh, Pierre's going to spill all the beans. No, I'm not sitting here gossiping and telling you, saying names and talking about people. We're not doing that. I am going to share stories. I'm going to share things, but this is not a book that's meant to trash a person or people. That's not what I use my platform for. But this is a book to call out some things that we need to do better even on the right. It's a challenge to the right to continue to improve in some ways. So all cards are on the table. And it wouldn't be any other way with me. But until next time, you guys, I love you all. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for following my journey. I cannot, let me just say this before I wrap. You guys are so supportive. I have the best, best, best supporters in the world. I don't even do enough for you guys, honestly. I'm like, man, I gotta post more on social media for you guys. You guys are so supportive when I do. I see the DMs. I see the love you guys give me when I'm out at my speeches. I can't thank you guys enough. One thing I want you guys to understand. I know I'm sitting here and I'm doing the show. I'm truly not an influencer. I'm not. That's not who I am. And for those who know me, you know that about me. I could probably consider myself more of a businessman, if anything. I love the business, the weeds of it all, helping people grow. I love developing people, building things out, and that sometimes means behind the scenes. So me being front facing is really because of the love that you guys have shown. Truly is. It's not something I ever desired, not something I craved, but it's something that I'm doing more because I know that you guys have supported me so, so much. And I'm thankful. So if I can talk to you guys once a week, share more about myself once a week, I'm happy to do it if that means that you guys feel supported back. So love you guys. Thank you guys. Until next time. And hey, Trump 2024 taking over in 2025. God bless you guys.